The IEA came out with a report this week discussing a high amount of supply. We're wondering if there's demand. Here to tell us about it is Dan Dicker. Dan, thanks for being with us.
Hi, Joe.
So what do you make of this?
Well, it's clearly, it's the IEA catching up to something that we kind of already knew, and that is that North American supply is exploding, as it has been for the past 3 years. Of course, in the Bakken, in the Eagle Ford, in other tight oil plays that we call from shale. That's one area that is explosive. And the next one, of course, is in Canada, in oil sands, which is what has been surrounding the Keystone XL pipeline. So that is the other area that has been exploding. And finally, third, from the Gulf of Mexico, where deep water drilling is again seeing a renaissance. And in fact, the technology to go even further down into the ocean and get even wider loads of oil that's sitting there, accompanied with a number of brand new finds there. So those three areas, tight oil, oil sands in the Gulf of Mexico, has finally awakened the IEA to say that there is a supply shock, in fact, coming from North America, where North America will in fact dominate oil production within 5 years.
So do we think this means a major drop in barrels per oil?
Well, you know, I have been, obviously fundamentally you would think that an enormous increase in supply would lead to a price drop, but
Sure.
Of course, I wrote a book about the financial influences into the price of oil, totally irrespective of fundamentals, and I still believe that there won't be nearly as precipitous a drop in the price, even despite the fact that supplies have come online so quickly. And you can see that even now. We have a global oil price still well above $100 a barrel, which is historically very high, despite the fact that production here in the United States is up already 2.5 million barrels a day from 2009, and in fact is slated to go up another 4 million barrels a day by 2017. So, you know, we've had already an enormous increase of supply. We're dealing with a global economy that is, you know, slowly getting back on its feet, but certainly isn't running gangbusters. We have at least an end of acceleration of growth in China.
Okay.
So instead of seeing 9%, we're seeing 7 or 6, which is much less than has been forecasted. And so what we have and what we've had, for example, for the last couple of years, has been pretty much a supply glut already, which hasn't done much to dampen the price of oil based, of course, on financial indicators that I talk about a lot in my book.
Okay, and investors very familiar with the OPEC nations might be wondering, what does this mean now for them?
Well, OPEC has a problem because what will happen, no matter what happens to the price, is that there'll be an enormous amount of export in this country. First and foremost, in refined products, which has already begun. We are a net exporter of gasoline, and this turned the corner for the first time last year.
Sure.
We were never an exporter of gasoline, but now we are. That will increase. We will become an exporter of liquid natural gas, LNG, which has begun with stocks like Golar and with Cheniere, and will continue as further permits for LNG get going with Southern, for example, and others. And so these are the major changes that are coming online. So the U.S. becomes, in many ways, a net producer and not a net importer of energy products. And in fact, the Saudis have to look for, in fact, something else, or at least they're going to lessen, you know, we're going to lessen a global reliance upon what the OPEC nations are doing.
Dan, we always appreciate your insight.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
You heard it from Dan. Shock, as he said, and the IEA put it that way as well. A shock of supply from the United States. Looking ahead to it, I'm Joe Deaux, The Street.